life to protect her only child. Even so, towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hate or resentment, whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake. One should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desire for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. Okay, let us begin now metta meditation practice. With this metta background, at this time, focus your mind on your breathing and simply notice inhaling as inhaling, exhaling as exhaling, without verbalizing or conceptualizing. Let the breath flow in and out and be totally mindful of that in breath and out breath. Then you notice the feeling. Of course, you notice the breath or become aware of the breath through the feelings. And that feeling also changes, rises and falls. Your perception rises and falls. Your thought or volition rises and falls. Your consciousness rises and falls. They happen together so quickly, you cannot isolate them. And since they are together and happening so quickly, simply become aware of the rising and falling of your breath. Along with that, everything rises and falls. When you are aware of that, your mind is very calm, relaxed, and peaceful. At that time, your desire, craving for anything will not arise. It will subside and you feel very calm. If the desire arises, mind gets agitated, excited, and stimulated. And therefore, when everything is calm, relaxed, and peaceful, desire doesn't arise. And then, of course, as the results of that calm, relaxed, peaceful state of mind, you experience or feel metta feeling, loving, friendly feeling. It is also non-verbal, but personally experiential. You are with everyone. We all are one living, breathing beings without any distinction. That kind of feeling you will have in your mind. Together with this and calm and peaceful states, you even might feel sleepy. At that time, we have to be very careful not to give in to sleepiness. Sleepiness is very sweet, tempting, welcoming mental state. But you will be like in a prison without knowing what is happening around. Sleepiness and drowsiness does not bring us insight or wisdom. Therefore, we have to overcome that. In order to overcome, I suggest very simple technique. That is, you take a deep breath, hold it as long as you can, and then slowly breathe out. If you repeat this several times, your body warms up, sleepiness disappears. Then you will have energy. This is just the opposite of sleepiness and drowsiness. When energy arises, mind gets even more agitated, excited, restless. Then the mind goes to the past or to the future. Past memories, ideas, events, people you may recall and remember. That is also not bringing you insight. So we have to get rid of that mind wandering to the past, pondering over the future. When you overcome mind going to the past, it can find a way to the future. So you may plan various things, and that also is not good situation. So we have to avoid both past and the future, but stay on the present moment. Present moment is the moment that we experience our breath, feelings, perceptions, thoughts and consciousness. They are happening right now, this very moment. And let the mind be there, them noticing rising and falling, all these things. Then the wandering mind stops. The mind stays on the present experience. After all these things, you may still have doubt about the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, morality, and even yourself, about yourself. We must understand the Buddha is the perfect one who liberated himself by following Dhamma, and this Dhamma is his teacher, and he followed the Dhamma and attained full liberation, enlightenment. From this personal experience, he taught the Dhamma, using the same Dhamma that helped him to attain liberation. And then we have to have a trust in the Buddha as well as the Dhamma. Following these Buddha's examples, his close disciples and others who are not very close to him later on attain liberation. And they are called Sangha. So we must build up our confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. Then when it comes to ourselves, we also are following the same path as Buddha said, we too can attain the same state if we follow the instructions. And therefore we also have already overcome 4 of our 5 hindrances: greed, resentment, sleepiness and drowsiness, restlessness and worry. Now, with regard to doubt, also we must have confidence in ourselves that we can overcome them. When these are all overcome, we feel as if we are free, liberated from various things. No debts. Being greedy is like having debts to pay. And we liberated from that, became free. Resentment is like being sick. When we are sick, we cannot appreciate anything. When we are well, we appreciate everything. So we begin to feel very joyful when we are free from sickness. Sleepiness and drowsiness is just like being in a prison where you cannot see anything outside your 4 walls, roof and the floor. But when you come out of jail, you feel so free, liberated, and you become full of joy. Then comes restlessness and worry is compared to slavery. When you are free from restlessness and worry, you are free from slavery and you feel joyful. Finally, being in doubt all the time is just like being in a desert where you don't have road sign, directions or a guide. You are completely confused. But when you come out of the desert, you feel joyful. So these are the similes to illustrate the meaning of 5 hindrances. And therefore, when these hindrances are subsided, joy arises, and that develops to a state where you experience happiness. Happiness also is not excitement, but calming, soothing, peaceful realization. With that state of mind, you can gain concentration. When you gain concentration, of course, you don't have to do anything. You simply experience peace, concentration. Concentrated state of mind also is not going to make you like a vegetable, but the mind is very sharp and clean and clear. With that concentrated state of mind, you look at your body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts and consciousness and see all of them without any exception are changing, constantly changing, rapidly changing. And therefore our greed for anything can subside, hatred and subside, confusion subsides, mind becomes sharp and clear. You are free. And we see this in a very, very clear state of mind. So, friend, with this, we must understand when we get this insight, our greed, hatred, and delusion fade away. Then we have real peace and happiness. So, with these few words of instructions, I like to stop now. We will and bring a wish. Okay. Make it bigger. By means of these meritorious deeds, may I never join with the foolish. May I join always with the wise until the time I attain Nibbana. May the suffering be free from suffering, or may the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. From the highest realm of existence to the lowest, may all beings arisen in these realms, with form and without form, with perception and without perception, be released from all suffering and attain to perfect peace. Do you want to hear the question? Excellent. Okay.
Okay, Bhante, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I will read the questions to you.
Okay.
So the first question that we have has to do with right understanding of the Four Noble Truths.
Yeah.
In your book, Buddhist Suttas for Recitation, on page 135, the second paragraph reads, "Now this, bhikkhus, is the noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is the remainderless fading away and cessation of that same craving, the giving up and relinquishing of it, freedom from it, non-reliance on it." Now, the question is about non-reliance.
My name's Nori Dockery, or Vijay Wickrama, I guess.
The noble truth is to be realized. Do we not come to understand our reliance on craving by investigating yoniso manasikara? Is it that our reliance on craving leads us around by the nose, like a dog on a leash?
Okay. Yes, abandoning craving is the end of suffering. So, yoniso manasikara, therefore, is a very important mental factor to overcome our desire, greed. When we practice yoniso manasikara, what it means is we reflect or we become fully aware of the desire at the very beginning, at the very root, and eliminate at that time very quickly if possible. That way we will not let it grow. For instance, you play games. When children play games, they are very much engaged in the game, and when even during the game, sometimes children fight because they have a desire to win. And but however, in a minute, one will win, other loses. Then they don't fight after that because they let go of that clinging to the game because they know that it is a game. Next moment they will start another game, and next time also somebody else may fight. But it will disappear from their mind very quickly as soon as the game is over. But adults, of course, these days there are no games, all business. And therefore when they play games, if they are going to lose or they lost, then there will be physical fights, because that involves money. So you can see how greed arises in the mind on account of more greed. When we are mindful, it is we realize. Suppose somebody plays a game with mindfulness, the person knows this is just a game. So there is no reason for us to have anger or grudge, because there was a desire for that moment and it disappears. Similarly, when we are mindful in our daily life, as soon as the desire arises, it is much deeper than the children's desire. As soon as the desire arises, we immediately see the danger of desire. That's why even in yesterday's talk I mentioned, any desire of course brings pleasure. Pleasure entails pain. When we are mindful, as soon as desire arises, immediately we see the pain as well. Instead of perpetuating desire, immediately we let go of it, drop it. On the other hand, when desire arises, we see the danger. What is the danger? It is impermanent. So we are trying to hold on to this impermanent desire and have more pain. As we become mindful and have yoniso manasikara, mindful reflection from the root of arising of desire, we can let it go. Anytime desire arises, immediately we see the danger and let it go. Yes, it is very much like a dog on a leash. So we have to cut it, sever the leash. So let the desire cease right then and there. So what the Buddha said in the third noble truth, second noble truth, this desire is the cause of our suffering. When it is the remainderless fading away, see the word remainderless, no balance, no carry over to the next moment, next hour, and so forth. Complete cessation of that same craving, the same craving that arises or arisen, giving up, relinquishing of it is the total freedom from it and non-reliance on it. Total freedom from desire is the total peace. If you have 1% of desire, you have 1% of suffering. If you have 50% of desire, 50% suffering. had 75 desire, 75% suffering. 0 desire, 0 suffering. Okay?
Okay, the following question has to do with dana. So when you give dana, and if you give without any wish for a good birth, are not expecting anything in return, but only with the goodness of your heart, does that skillful action still make your samsaric journey longer? Can you please explain more on that? Doesn't the karma path and the dhamma path go hand in hand? This is what you explained yesterday.
Okay. Dhammapath and Karmapath are not the same. Karmapath, we have to, you mentioned that giving dana without expecting anything in return, then you must ask yourself, why then you give dana? Of course, if there is some situation where someone needs something and you have that means, so you share with that person or animal or something like that, without even thinking about it even after that, and completely forget about it. Never think of it. In the karma path, when you do wholesome karma, you repeat it again and again. If you cannot repeat the same thing, you think about it so that you can have more wholesome mental states. In the Dhamma path, you even don't think of it. When you follow Dhamma path, you completely forget about it. And if you can do that, that is the way to follow the Dhamma path. In the Karma path, there always is something, what you call appendix, something for the future. In the Dhamma path, you don't have anything for the future. So the difference between Karma path and Dhamma path is Karma path always has something for the future. Dhamma path has nothing for the future. If you follow Dhamma path. Dhamma path always, as just we mentioned, letting go, letting go, letting go, letting go, relinquishing, relinquishing, relinquishing. No anything left for the future. Okay?
The next question is, Bhante, in the Dhamma Chakkapavatana Sutta, the Buddha says, thus bhikkhus, there arose in me vision, knowledge, wisdom, true knowledge, and light. This is how this sutta was translated here. What are the differences in these?
Okay. What is the question? Okay.
It's,
Dhamma Chakkapavatana Sutta, yes.
yes, the different aspects.
Some vision, knowledge, wisdom, the knowledge and light.
Yes, what is the difference?
Okay, difference. Vision is very, very clear, clarity. When you go to check your eyeglasses, your eyes, they always check your vision. Meaning how clear your sight is. Similarly, when Buddha said vision arose in him, his perfect clarity of the Dhamma is unquestionably pure and clean and sharp. knowledge is knowledge is that we gain from experience. Wisdom is seeing rising and falling impermanence in everything, just like I mentioned yesterday. When we have real perception of impermanence, wherever we see, wherever we go, whatever we see, in any direction, in any 10 directions, we see them all impermanent, internal and external, yourself and others, everything without any exception you see things impermanent. That full awareness is wisdom. And true knowledge is without any doubt, no doubt. And light is very much like shining objects, like sunlight. All these actually are synonyms with some little shades of meaning. Otherwise, we can use all of them as synonyms. What it all means is the clarity, purity, without any doubt, perfectly clear in his mind. Yeah. Another question.
Dear Bhante, how is it possible that consciousness, which is constantly changing, is able to be conscious of the permanence of Nibbana, which is not changing? Wouldn't it experience Nibbana as changing as well, as its perception is constantly changing? Thank you.
Yeah. Consciousness is changing along with everything else. This is very important factor to remember. I mentioned in one of my talks, there is no immovable mover. Everything is working together. I give you a very beautiful simile that I learned in the discourses. That is, time consumes us and we consume the time. You just look at that, you just think of it. We consume the time while time consumes us. Similarly, consciousness is conscious of everything, conscious of impermanence of everything, while consciousness itself being impermanent. So not permanent consciousness, not become aware of impermanence outside. And there is no permanent consciousness. Permanent consciousness being permanent, impermanent consciousness being impermanent itself, become conscious of other impermanent things. Now, when it comes to Nibbana, this changing or impermanence refers to something that exists, something. Nibbana is not something. That is the end of thing. And therefore it can never become impermanent. It is, we must say, end of impermanence is Nibbana. Nibbana is not something existing somewhere like clouds or stars, ether, or something existing over there. Nibbana is the end of entire mass of suffering, entire craving, entire defilements. Ending of all of them is Nibbana. If somebody asks whether Nibbana also is changing, that is a very confused state of mind that doesn't understand the meaning of Nibbana. So, you have to remember, the word changing or impermanence applies only to things. There may be ideas, there may be physical things, mentality, materiality, atoms and molecules, all, physical, chemical, scientific, whatever people use for their investigation and so forth, the impermanence applies to them, not something that does not exist in that sense. End of all these things is Nibbana. You may think it is, in that case, it must be very, very unpalatable, undesirable, unacceptable, gloomy, dark, or something, all negative things. I must say, Nibbana is the end of all the negative things, all the positive things, but just peace. And it is called etam santang etam panitang yadidam sabba sankhara samato sabbu patipatini saggo tannako virago nirodho nibbana. Etam santang, this is peaceful. Etam panitang, this is pleasant. Yadidam sabba sankhara samato, cessation of all sankharas. Sabba upadi patinisaggo, sabba upadi patinisaggo. All clinging, abandoning all clinging. Tannakaya virago nirodho. Tannakaya, cessation of craving. Viraga, not clinging. Nirodha, cessation. So, all cessation of all negatives and all positives, but remaining only peace. And the word impermanence does not apply to Nibbana, in short. Okay, next question.
Bhante, I have a question.
Yeah.
In the Mindfulness of Breathing Sutta, the Anapanasati Sutta, the last tetrad has the contemplation of fading away and then the contemplation of cessation coming after the contemplation of impermanence. But fading away and sensation are implied in impermanence. So it seems like it's repeating, because when we contemplate impermanence, we see fading away and we see cessation and arising. So these two steps are included in impermanence.
Right. Actually, the one key word in all of them is impermanence. So, as you said correctly, aniccanupassi, viragaanupassi, nirodhanupassi, patinisaggaanupassi. That means when something is flowing, there is nothing on the way to stop it. That is viraga. Then nirodha, as it is flowing and comes to an end, we must understand end means end. We must not ask what is after that. That's a foolish question. When something we call end and means end, nothing but that. And then mentally we must prepare to accept the ending, and that's called relinquishment, letting go, abandoning. So anicca, viraga, nirodha, patinissagga. Patinissagga means once it is gone, let it go. Be bygones, what call let bygones be bygones.
Bygones, big bygones, yeah.
Yeah, let bygones be bygones. So let it go. And after that, if there is a very tiny, one little iota of desire, then of course we have not completed the course. And Buddha said in another place, Jitan, what you call, Kubupamankaya Mimangita Nagarupan Chitamidandapeta, Yodhe the Maram Panya Yudena, Jitanjarake Anivesanosia. Seeing the body as a clay pot which is brittle, subject to break, and the mind like a city, active, always so many things going on, then use the wisdom weapon, Panya Yudha, wisdom weapon, and fight. Fight the Mara. Mara means all defilements, 10 armies of Mara mentioned in Sutta Nipata, and defeat all of them with the weapon of wisdom. In that wisdom, as I mentioned earlier, you see impermanence. You defeat every army, every soldier in army, Mara's army, with the weapon of wisdom of impermanence. This army is impermanent, that army is impermanent, this army is impermanent, no matter what appears in your mind as a Mara, you defeat by saying this is impermanent, this is impermanent, this is impermanent, this is impermanent. And then once you gain the vision, anivesanosia, jitancha rakke anivesanosia, you protect it but don't dwell in it. In the ordinary battles, you fight to gain something. I remember in Shakespeare's, when Hamlet was going, he met some army and he asked him, then where are you going? They said, we are going to such and such a place. Then Hamlet said, that place is so small, your army even cannot stand on that because it is so small. Then these people said, we are going there to fight not for the land but for our pride. Even there is no standing space, we are fighting for the pride. Because pride comes from desire and ignorance. So Buddha said, if you fight and try to dwell in the space where you gain, then you have not gained. You have lost the battle. Jitanjarake anivesanosia. Don't dwell in the space that you gain. So even mentally we do not try to possess it. Don't try to possess it. Even without attaining enlightenment, Buddha always gave the instruction, Neta mama nesvamasya namesvata. This I am not, this is not mine, this is not my self. And if that is our training from the beginning, once attained Nibbana, how can there be anything left for us to hold on to? And therefore, even to think of anything that we can hold on to in Nibbanic state is very confusing, deluded mental state. Okay? I think, friends, that may be the last question for today. Okay. Yeah, another question, when is Bhante starting his 3-month retreat? What does he when does he restart in the next year?
The new year.
New year, okay. My retreat begins on the 15th of December. You can see it in my vacation message. If you send me an email after the 15th, you get this message. So that is the official day. And ending on the 15th of March next year. Then following weekend we start our sessions. Okay? Next year, okay, 22 March. 15th is Tuesday, and then next 18th and 19th and 20th are Saturday and Sunday. So you prepare for our Dhamma talk on the 19th of March, year 2022. Okay. Now, friends, once again, I like to wish all those who are in hospitals be free from their sickness, return home very quickly and continue their Dhamma practice and liberate themselves not only this temporary suffering but samsaric suffering. And those who have lost their loved ones, they were grieving, may they be free from that grief and continue to live their regular life and practice Dhamma and attain liberation. And those very compassionate doctors, nurses, and hospital staffs, may they continue their wonderful service to help these so many people, even at the risk of their own life. May they live in very good health and continue their practice, Dhamma practice, and liberate themselves from samsaric suffering. May all the generous people who have very compassionately contributed their time, energy, wealth, and so on to help these people in many different ways, may they continue their wonderful, generous service. And leaders who have taken great leadership to help the world in many ways, especially this very unfortunate period, May they continue their insightful leadership to help the world. And our friends who have been participating in these sessions from March last year, almost now going to be 2 years. May they continue their practice and see all of them next year on the 19th of March, year 2022. And meanwhile, continue your practice. May you all live in good health and attain liberation from samsaric suffering. Okay?
Thank you, Bhante. Sadhu.
Bhante.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Bhante.
Bhante.
You have a very successful weekend, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Have a good retreat, Bhante. Successful.
Okay.